Happy Friday, everybody,
Happy Friday.
and welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us, actually, I'm not sure where she's joining us from today, but Jaimee Harris.
Hi, I am in Nashville, Tennessee today.
Excellent. Well, we are so happy to have you here joining us. And some folks arrived at the party early today. They wanted to make sure they got a good spot, I guess. Stephen and
Front
David.
row.
Yeah.
For once, I identify with that. That's great.
And Barry says, checking in, not only is Jaimee Harris a wonderful singer-songwriter, but she likes horror movies and roller coasters. That is a trifecta of reasons to support her. All right.
Barry Lynn, you got to see, I got to move the camera, but this is my horror-themed office. So if I can do this without breaking my computer, there's like a Creature of the Black Lagoon section, a Twin Peaks section, a workout section. I mean, yes.
Is that a coffin behind you?
Like yes, little... there are two coffins behind me. I have a task rabbit coming on Sunday to help me hang some stuff up. So yes.
That's awesome. All right.
I love it. And Lydia and Connie joining us from Richfield. Suzanne from New Smyrna Beach. Alan down in Texas. All right. 3 inches of rain. Oh, wow. Ooh. And then let's see. Bevan and Linda from New Haven, and folks joining us from all over. And if you are new to the Back Catalog Listening Party, this is the show where we invite different guest artists to revisit old records with us. We listen to tracks, talk about them, answer your questions. So feel free to let us know where you're tuned in from. And it is Friday, so this is our weekly happy hour. So if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack, tell us what you're enjoying. And this is our weekly check-in. And it might have been a 4-day week, but I have to say it felt a lot longer.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say. And so I need to stay awake for it. So I'm actually drinking some coffee today is my beverage of choice, and along with some bubbly water. So I'll be alternating,
double fisting it.
Yeah, that's right. So Tony, what are you enjoying today?
Yeah, I'm going back to the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company once again in my Back Catalog Listening Party pint glass for the Hazy Little Thing IPA. I love this one. It's my
excellent,
latest.
And it's always better in the Back Catalog Listening Party pint glass.
It tastes so much better.
So much better. And Jaimee, are you enjoying any kind of beverage?
I have some water in my hydro flask with creatine mixed in. And it's a new hydro flask, so I'm building my sticker collection. So
I love it.
I love this one that my friend Betty Sue gave me, which is of Tim Holt, who is in James McMurtry's band.
Awesome.
That's like a true fan sticker right there,
Dude, it's hardcore. I love it so much. I love it.
And shout out to Betty Sue, a good friend of ours. She's been on the show, one of our past guests. And we'd love to hear where you're tuned in from. If you're enjoying, whether it's out of a funky new water bottle or anything else, or Back Catalog Listening Party pint glass. It's a mouthful, but
looks like Texas is being represented quite well. We have Heather,
Heather.
And we have Mitch, also Mitch. From Texas, and Florida as well. Welcome, Mark from
Mark
Florida.
Too. Right on.
Well, we are so excited to have you all here, and we're so excited to have Jaimee Harris on the show. And for those, I know there's a lot of folks who've tuned in today who are excited and know your music, but for folks who maybe are less familiar, Jaimee, maybe you could give a brief 2-minute origin story of, where you grew up, how you fell into making music, and where this album fits into everything.
Yeah, so I grew up in a suburb of Waco, Texas, called Hewitt, Texas. And my dad and my mom had me quite early. I was very unplanned. And so my dad put himself through college and through law school by playing in cover bands. And when I was 5, I asked for a Pegasus for Christmas, like a flying horse. And my parents asked me, is there anything else you possibly want? And I said, no, I've already promised my kindergarten friends we're going to have a flying Pegasus gang. Like, it's legit. Like, it was, But at that time, I got really, really into this Emmylou Harris Christmas song called Light of the Stable. I don't know if you're familiar with the song. It's beautiful. And the harmonies on it are Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Neil Young. So it's like 4 of, in my opinion, the best voices on earth in one song. And I was just mesmerized by it. And so my dad said, well, maybe she'd want a guitar. And so that's how I got my first guitar. And then when I was 10, I started playing cover songs in the set breaks of my dad's cover band shows. And there was a woman named Beth Petrick who lives in the Houston area. And sometimes they would let me play all 3 sets. And sometimes they'd say, the kid's kind of cute, but you got to get her out of the bar. And so for every set I didn't play, she would take me to Walmart, which was open 24 hours. And I got to buy a CD. So I either got to build up my musical knowledge or not. And then after getting my mind blown by seeing Emmylou Harris, Patty Griffin, and Julie Miller and Buddy Miller all on the same stage at the very first Austin City Limits Music Festival, I started writing songs shortly after that and then formed a band with my dad called Better Off Dad. And we played together as a duo, and there's evidence of it online. You can check out the very first song I wrote called Lucky is out there in a music video. I have braces. It's fabulous.
Awesome. We're going to link to that one in the show notes.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
You got to check it out. And then, I went to college for a very short minute and came back to Waco, and a lot of people that I known had left and were going to college, and I didn't really find my place to fit in, and I started drinking pretty heavily. And then I moved to Austin, and kind of similar thing. I moved to Austin because someone pointed down at South Congress and said, yeah, you could go to Dallas and work in the shoe store where you have an offer, or you can move here where James McMurtry plays for twice a week for less than $10. And that's what I did. And, but I started drinking alcoholically. And after my second arrest, which I was reminded of when I had dinner with Ray Wiley Hubbard recently, that it happened after I attended a James Taylor Carole King tribute concert, which is just about the most mellow environment I can imagine.
Wow. Yeah.
Getting drunk enough to go to jail. And Ray said, that's not very cool. I wouldn't tell anybody that. But after then, I got sober. And I got to say, when I moved to Austin, I kind of found myself musically in more of a hipster scene, which I never really felt like fit me. And I kept saying, where are like the people that listen to Patty Griffin, like Emmylou Harris? And it turns out there was a club that sadly did not make it, but was located in South Austin called Strange Brew. And they had a gospel brunch, and they had music there pretty much from 10 o'clock in the morning until midnight most days, especially on weekends. And it was close to a recovery clubhouse. And so I spent my time in early sobriety soaking up all the music I could. And I really got into this gospel brunch that they had there, which was used to, the funds supported the local food bank, which is a hub for all the food banks in Texas. And it was kind of a gospel brunch, but they would play secular stuff as well. And I really wanted to have an original song to play at the gospel brunch because they started inviting me up to sing. And it's such a cool group of people. It was Sela Misra, John D. Graham, Scrappy Jen Newcomb, and Jeff Plankenhorn. So it was a total blast. And I met Chuck Prophet there, all these incredible artists that would come and visit. You never know who you were going to see. And early on in sobriety, I ended up staying late at my medical office where I worked as a receptionist. I worked for this great doctor who is also a musician and kept guitars in the office. And that's where I wrote Snow White Knuckles. And for me, when I wrote that song, that was kind of the first real Jaimee Harris song I feel like I ever wrote. It feels like that's where I found my writer's voice. And like there's this great museum. It's not in Amsterdam. It's not the Van Gogh Museum. It's called the Kruller-Muller, and it's somewhere kind of in rural in the Netherlands. And this woman started collecting Van Gogh very early. And so she has kind of Van Gogh trying to imitate his heroes. You kind of see him doing Rembrandt and all these things, and then boom, you watch him become Van Gogh. For me, that was that moment. That song is the moment when I'm like, this is sonically what I think I sound like I'm singing about what I care about, and it feels like vulnerably and honestly me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And how exciting that happens to be our first track.
That's right. Yes.
that we're going to be spinning today. So you mentioned a little bit about that. And this was, where was this record in your discography? Was this your first record then? Your first effort?
This was my first record. So that was a weird thing. So I'd been playing music since I was 10, been writing songs since I was 14. I kind of done some home recording with my dad, but this was the real first record I ever made. I played shows for years without having any music to sell. I mean, I was the only artist I think I knew that was selling out the Cactus Cafe that didn't have an album. It was really backwards and weird.
Well, the music, speaks for itself. The product is something that we get to enjoy later, and I'm so glad that we're all going to listen to this together, especially with that setup. Is before we put it on, is there any other things you want to say about this track, or should we just give her a spin?
Let's just roll it.
All right. I'm excited to kick off our hour of music with all of you and Jaimee Harris's Snow White Knuckles here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, I never thought I'd find God here, full of nicotine and caffeine, shaking with fear, just praying for another day to stay in the clear. Well, I never thought I'd find God here. Well, I never thought I'd draw sober breath. I always thought I'd be a wreck. Always figured I'd have nothing left. Well, I never thought I'd draw sober breath. But I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. Oh, but I'm getting used to sleeping alone. Just one flashlight in the book of John. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. But I gave up the heartbreak, gave up the man, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to let me love again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought I could be free after all those nights in the DOC. Now I'm thankful God's forgiven me, 'cause I never thought I could be free. But I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in, and asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call him a good friend, my good friend.
Jaimee Harris here on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Snow White Knuckles from her 2018 album Red Rescue, her debut album. And, you know, when this album came out, I know folks were really excited to have a record finally from you. And I have to say, a lot of the reviews were like, you know, it's hard to believe this was a debut because it was so fully formed, but obviously you've been making music for so long. but still, you know, recording your own stuff is still a big step, even if you are a great songwriter and have been playing live for quite some time. So when did you decide this was the time you had to go in and who you were going to do it with?
Yeah, well, first of all, I had to build up enough of a fan base that cared about my original music. And that really started to happen for me around 2015. And I figured at that point I could crowdfund for a record, and that's what I did. And I initially was going to work with a different producer, and then conversation kind of shifted, and Sela and John Green were playing in my band at the time, who I love very much, very, very much. She's an incredible artist. If you haven't checked out Sela's work, and John is just an insane jazz drummer. And Sela said, "Have you thought about Craig Ross?" And I was like, "Craig Ross that makes the Patty Griffin records? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, that guy's not going to take my phone call." And she said, "Why don't you think about it?" And I said, "Okay." And I ended up talking with Craig and meeting with Craig, and it felt like the right thing to do. And the whole process of working with him was, it was challenging in a way for where I was in my life. And I was just starting to do my personal work. You know, I mean, I've been sober over 10 years, and I still feel so at the very beginning of unpacking my character defects and moving forward as who I am as a human being. And he helped break my ego in a way that I really needed. Because, and when I listen, I mean, I was just thinking about like listening back to that song, because I don't listen to my own music. It makes me feel very nervous. And I was about to start crying. Like, so much came up for me during that. Like, one of the things is that on that song, the lead part that's played, my very good friend, Brian Patterson, who's been playing music with me since I was 15, came up with that part. And so to hear him do it is just very emotional. And I feel like that angst in it, like he knew who I was before I was sober and is still friends with me to this day. And I feel his struggle in that when he plays it, like just a lot of things that make me very emotional. But in addition to needing to wait to have the fan base that wanted the record and that could support funding the record, because I was just, working in a medical office at the time, I decided that what I really wanted to do as an artist was to always make records, not just to make records, but I wanted to make records that told stories that made sense to listen to from beginning to end, even if we're moving into a universe where that seems less important from a commercial standpoint. It's important to me as an artist. And I knew that Craig was aligned with that vision and that he could help me make all the pieces connect. Because at the time, one of the challenges that Craig had as the producer was I had an enormous body of work. At the time, I had a residency, so I was playing like every week at a club called 1-to-1. And there was this, first of all, just bursting in me because I was newly sober. I had more time on my hands than I realized. I was like, what do people do with all this time? Oh my gosh. I was writing so many songs, and I'm just, it was in my early 20s. I was just in that creative bursting period where it was just coming out of me and coming out of me. And plus I had this motivation to write so that I had something new to play at the residency shows. So Craig went through like 40 or 50 songs in my catalog and said, I think these 15 are the best. And so we started out with those 15. And then near the end, this might come up later, but he had me write 2 more. Which is the right call. And as I look back at this body of work, like it's funny listening to Snow White Knuckles. I'm like, oh man, I sing it so differently now. Like there's so many things that have changed. And even lyrics that I've rewritten, not with that song, but just with some other songs. But what struck me, like initially I was like, oh man, like I don't sound as confident as I thought I did. And then I realized by the end of that last verse, I feel more confident. And thinking back on like where I was in my life at that time, like I was just, I think that the song was ahead of me, which has often been my experience. Like I did have faith in early sobriety, but it was very new. I did have faith that I was going to find love, but it required me leaving a toxic relationship. The thing that was closest to my experience at that time was getting out of jail. And for sure, I believe that. And I hear the confidence in the third verse. Now, 34 years old in a healthy relationship with 10 years of sobriety under my belt, I can sing the whole song with confidence. And that hadn't occurred to me till we're listening back just now, which is kind of powerful for me. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to reflect on that.
Oh,
I don't know if anyone else cares about that, but
we do. We do. Thank you so much.
And I think it's so wonderful to hear, because I think a lot of people think that music it just affects them in a certain way, that artists themselves aren't changed by their own, not just the act of writing it, because I think people think that's where it might end, and then the performing is just a fun thing, but a song can change you in the process, and continue to change you and affect you the more you live into it and play it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I was gonna kind of circle back on this idea that like the song was ahead of you a little bit. Like that's been a theme that's come up over the 200 some episodes here, where people said I didn't know what the song was about until, like 2 years after it was released. Even sometimes, and I think it's a testament to where the power of music and where those sparks really come from.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I love that the music sometimes knows something that the rest of you might not know yet, and which I think is kind of beautiful and amazing and magical. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you just joined the party, this is the back catalog listening party, where we dredge up all those memories and feelings and torture artists by making them listen to their old records.
But we'd like to listen to
I feel like I just made it heavy. The people that are here are like, oh, of course, Jamie's going to do that. She doesn't think she's going to do it, and then she does it, of course.
As soon as you talked about how this was an album, really like a collection of songs, and hopefully we'll get into those two that ended up on there. I mean, that's really a big part of this show, is this idea that this was a time and a place in an artist's life. You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money into these things, and yeah, to hear that is the kickoff song. I can't wait for the rest of this hour.
It's really weird too, like how books are evergreen. Like I feel like maybe I'm wrong because I'm not an author, but I feel like someone says like, oh, that's like, so-and-so's old book, like Stephen King's old book, like people are going to read, but for some reason there is that expectation with music. Like, oh, that's an old record. Strange.
Right. We fully agree with you there that it's strange, but that's why we started the show, to celebrate all the great art that's been out there. And also that, again, these albums can, when we listen to them again years later with fresh ears, we hear new things, and but continues to inspire us and move us in different ways. So we're so excited to have you here revisiting your first record, Red Rescue, which came out in 2018. And I want some more music. I don't know how other folks are feeling.
Let's do it.
The next song is Depressive State. Is there anything you want to say about this before we?
Yeah, this was a collision of things. So I was in a songwriting group at the time where you get a prompt, and then you have to write and record and submit a song in a week. And one of the things, this was such a fun experiment. I got several songs for this record actually out of this songwriting group. But one of them was that we listened to this incredible lecture that if there are any songwriters on the stream, I recommend that you check out. It's about an hour long. It's Ralph Murphy. And he talks about the 5 different forms of songwriting. And one of them, this is fifth form, which is mostly like a girl group form, where you start with the chorus, and then there's a verse and a chorus, a musical bridge, a regular bridge, and then a chorus and out. And so I was challenged to write a song in that format, which was really fun for me because I'd never done that. And it collided with, I was very, very depressed and had just moved in with a wonderful singer-songwriter named Jane Ellen Bryant. And Jane is, she's very positive. She does not struggle with depression. And one of the things that I love to do when I'm depressed is to watch endless hours of Law and Order SVU, which cannot be good for anybody, but I love it. Like the general great, you can fall asleep and wake up and it's like the same episode. It doesn't. So I had like dun exactly. And it's my text tone when you call me. It's the Law and Order theme song. I mean, it's still a part of my life. It's huge.
Love it.
But Jane, that is not her at all. She's going to watch Gilmore Girls or like something that makes you like happy. And I was sleeping on the couch for days in our tiny apartment. And she's like, maybe like instead of trying to like escape whatever's going on with you by watching Law and Order, like maybe you could write a song to your depression. And so that's what I did. And what's funny is that I met Jane because Jane had a song called 20s about moving in with her parents after going to college. And that being her early life in her 20s, when all of her college friends were getting married. And I called Brian Patterson, the guitar player we share, and said, hey, is that song real? Because I need a roommate. He goes, yeah, I'll call Jane. And so that song that I'd heard on KUTX ended up being, we ended up becoming roommates. And then this was the single from Red Rescue. So this song got played
wow.
on the same radio station. It was kind of a full circle moment.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, let's give it a spin. This is Jaimee Harris, Depressive State, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
In a depressive state, how long will I feel this way? Is it forever? In my mind prisoner, will I be okay? Will I ever be okay? Heading out somewhere that everyone hates. Will I ever be okay? I'm locking all the doors to my house. Lights off, no need to ever come around. You can take my number off your fridge. You never need it, never need it. Not even to be saved for a rainy day. Oh, if I were you, I'd forget I ever knew my name. And now you wanna call and say you're sorry, but you're not sure what for. Save your apologies, I can't take yours anymore. In a depressive state, how long will I feel this way? Is it forever? Am I my prisoner? Will I be okay? Will I ever be okay? Heading out somewhere that everyone hates. Will I ever be okay? Who knows? Chicken rain. I could have sworn I was happy before you left. I guess I could have been a bummer the whole time. In a depressive state, how long will I feel this way? Is it forever? In my mind prisoner, will I be okay? Will I ever be okay? Heading out somewhere that everyone hates. Will I ever be okay? Will I ever be
Yes,
Hell
Jaimee
yeah.
Harris with Depressive State from her 2018 album Red Rescue. And I love songs like that are about, like sad things, but just make you feel so dang good.
Yeah, that was the other girl group inspiration, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like I love songs that sound happy, and then you listen to the words and go, oh, this is not a happy vibe here.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the magic of Craig Ross too. Man, listening to this on headphones.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all Craig. I mean, he just
I was going
my
to ask
mind is
about
so
that
blown.
since you bring it up. I mean, there's some just badass production choices on that song. There was one little guitar part that like jolted me out of my seat a little. It was like, whoa, where did that come from? Were those kind of arrangement decisions and stuff, things that he was kind of directing, or did it happen organically in the studio? How did these songs get arranged?
Yeah, so this record took about a year and a half to make, almost 2 years. So the way that it worked is that we tracked basic tracks in a studio, Wire Studio with Stuart Sullivan, fantastic, legendary studio in Austin. And then Craig sat with it, and he told me several times, he said, I'm not always the best producer for someone's first record because I really like to produce something. And I said, well, that's what I want. I want someone to push me. I want someone out of my edge. And it really did stretch me because, I've recorded a lot of background vocals on other people's records. And so I kind of come in as the sprinkles on top. And I was excited to like getting to see my record being built from the ground up in that way. Mm-hmm. And so at the time I really wrestled with that because I thought, I thought we are going to kind of just do this in the studio and it was going to be live. And that's the thing. And he said, no, I'm going to produce this. And it's like, but then I listen to that song and I go, oh my God, thank God he produced it. It's like it is a jam like that. Yeah. I hate listening to myself sing, but I can listen to that song and just the movement that's just masterful stuff. I think I had all of this like ego stuff that was, I need to like see the whole thing being built up. I need to be a part of every process. And the thing is like, maybe my strength is being a songwriter and I can let somebody else produce. And, like maybe I should kind of, and I think with this record that was the choice. And it taught me so much about myself. It taught me a lot about letting go with art and kind of the trust fall of that. And there were moments when I pushed back. There were some moments where I was like, that's not really right for me. And it also opened my mind to like what my voice could sit on top of. I think this opened my mind to what I could do as an artist. I had a more limited idea of what kind of sonic bed would be good for my voice. And Craig blew that open for me, which has been really liberating. And I appreciate it. I struggled with it. It was hard for me with who I was at that time. And now I have nothing but gratitude for it.
Yeah, it sounds so great. And speaking of your voice, Chris had a comment, said your sound is one of a kind and your voice is awesome. How many octaves can you sing?
I have no idea the answer to that question. I truly don't know. I am very homegrown, haven't, not a clue.
Well, I will say that having that kind of big kind of pop sound in that track, I mean, it does kind of, sometimes having a band like that or having that kind of bed allows you to reach to those kind of heights. You're like, oh, I never thought my voice could do that, in that way. And you, I mean, it feels like it's the other way around, maybe, even if you felt at the time that you were meeting a sound, it feels to me like the band is meeting you, rising to the occasion.
Yeah, and the production and the editing choices and things like that really are helping to tell the story. I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, it's a collaborative effort, and but I really feel like it's helping tell your story in such a great way. And since we're talking about how good this sounds, and especially on headphones, Jaimee's right. Someone commented earlier about they loved your headphones, Jaimee. It sounds amazing, but guess what, folks? We're just hearing like the YouTube version of these songs. You can hear like actual high resolution files. And I believe Jaimee still has some physical copies too, which, in this day and age, I think that's worth a lot to have there it is. All right. And so we want to encourage, if you're enjoying what you're hearing today, nothing encourages an artist more than purchasing their album. And you can purchase Jaimee's music, not just this album, but everything she's done on her website, JaimeeHarris.com. We put that link in the comments. So after the show, during the show, make sure you go there and stock up on Jaimee's merchandise.
And we should also say that Jaimee mentioned before we came on here that in addition to the album, she has all the merch associated with that album too. So you could stock up on all kinds of Red Rescue stuff. And while we're talking about Red, I have noticed a theme, not just obviously on this record and the album cover with Red Rescue, wearing red, but you're wearing red now and you do wear red a lot. Is red, does it hold any kind of special place for you, or is it just your favorite color?
You know what? My favorite color is green. Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. I was thought about this. We played an event for this woman named Gloria Johnson, who's running against Marsha Blackburn for the Senate seat in Tennessee. And I was like putting on my outfit, and I went, not the event to wear red to. Like I got to get some blue stuff going on here, you know. But no, what happened is kind of weird. So, oh wow, I must be really missing my friend Brian Patterson today, because he's just coming up in my mind a lot. But in 2017, my mentor and friend, Jimmy LaFave, passed away of cancer. And I had some other friends that passed away about 6 months before that. And I was going through a really hard time. And I felt very lost. And we were still in the process of making this record. It didn't have a title yet. And I walked into a vintage store and I saw these glasses. And to me, with depression, I put them on and I was like, this feels like a really good medium. Like, I feel like I can go out into the world and I feel like a little bit of a shield, but I also feel like I can look people in the eye. And so I showed up to a band rehearsal wearing them. And Brian was like, you should wear those on stage. Those are awesome. I was like, okay, sure. So the glasses came first. And then once we decided, like, you know, that goes really well with Red Rescue. And once we decided that Red Rescue really kind of fed the central theme of the record, then it made sense. And we could talk a lot about, if you want, the making of the album cover and the packaging, which is crazy. This is a photo that Brandon Aguilar, the photographer, took after Heath McMurtry, related to James, drank some of the milk that we'd used from the props, and we just knocked it all over. This was such a crazy thing. I think you've got some more pictures here. There's Heath. There's Heath with the milk. Yep.
Wow.
So Brandon's mom, this is the shot that ends up being the back of the record cover. So Brandon's mom is a realtor. And yep, there's Heath again. I love this dude so much. And she happened to be selling the house next to her house in Temple, Texas. And so she said, y'all can just go in the garage and do whatever. So Brandon said, why don't we make our own set? So Heath and Brandon and I painted this set. A lot of people think it's Photoshop, but it's not. Like, we made this happen. He got a bunch of stuff from the thrift store and we painted it all red. There I am in my Hilltop Cafe shirt.
If you're just listening to the podcast, folks, we are looking at proof, evidence here, pictures of them creating the set, and we will have those images on our website at backcatalog.com.
Oh my gosh, he's so awesome. Funny. He's so funny. So yeah, this was a blast. It felt kind of sad to like take it down when it was all over. And what's funny is Brandon, like a couple days before, was texting me like, hey, what are you going to wear? Which is always like, oh, like I'm so bad at that. Such a nightmare, which is, I mean, I like having a uniform. That's one of the things about, like, I have a red suit now and I just have this thing. So this suit I borrowed from my roommate, Jane Ellen Bryant. She had worn it in a music video called Attention, and Brandon saw the video. He screenshotted it and said, would Jane let you borrow that? And I said, I can ask her. And so that's where this suit came from. And then about 2 years ago, I was on Poshmark and I saw this suit, which is essentially the same suit, just with some gold buttons, which is like a miracle to me. I said, I have to buy it. I'll find a reason to use it. And this is the first time I've worn it since I got it, because it feels like a part of the Red Rescue universe. But I think it also, like, you know, there's something about recognition. You know, I am not a first impression kind of person. You got to meet me a couple times before you like me. At least that's what I think. Like, you're not going to meet me once and go, you're going to meet me once and go, that was weird. And the second time you're like, I don't know, something's up with that girl. And third time you're like, oh, I get it. Not a first impression. But with the glasses, people go, I remember who you are. And as we go to things like Folk Alliance, Americana Fest, you know, these things where we are trying to be remembered. Obviously, I want it to be for our music, but we are in a visual medium as well. And this helps people to remember me. And it helps me feel like, I think in the beginning it was protection, and now it feels like an extra version of myself.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. You know, you know, when you suit up for any capacity, sports teams do this all the time, but musicians do as well. I mean, it really can help you maybe become the superhero version of yourself, you know, and that's really what I think people long and crave for from artists, whether they're musicians or other forms of artists.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What a great story, though, of how it all kind of organically came together, all these red things into your life. And speaking of red things, the next track we have queued up is Red Rescue, the title track to the record that we've been revisiting. Again, if you just tuned into the back catalog listening party, this is the show where we invite different guest artists to revisit one of their old records. And Jaimee Harris is joining us today from Nashville, revisiting this debut album that came out in 2018. And yeah, is there anything you want to say about this song before we take a listen?
Yeah, so this song came about because I was invited to be a part of this thing called the Tertulia, which is a combination of poets and prose writers and songwriters. And it's hosted by Gretchen Graham, who's John D. Graham's wife, and Kelly Salame, who is James McMurtry's partner. And we were given a topic and had to write and present a song within 7 days. And the theme was not as bad as it looks. And the event was on Sunday and it was Wednesday night and I didn't have a song. And I was riding around with a friend of mine and he told me the story about his first wife. And he said when he was 17, he went to meet this girl's parents, like you do when you're dating somebody. And he walked into the house and everything that could possibly be red was red. And the mom served them a strange meal that included spoiled milk. And since he's such a nice guy, he decided he would try to rescue this girl from this insane environment by marrying her. And I said, and then of course it didn't work out because they were too young then, done their work yet, and it didn't work out. And I said, that's fascinating. Number one. Number two, I think it would really fit for this thing I'm supposed to do on Sunday. Would it be okay if I wrote a song about it? And he said, yeah, sure, whatever. I had no idea that it was going to end up like being a song I play every night, that it was going to be the title track of my first record. And I have heard that the Red Rescue family has a copy of the CD.
Oh, wow.
But I've never been contacted by them.
I'm sure it looks really good on their wall or on their shelf.
Right? It would like fit right in, right? So
that is amazing. I think we need to listen to this one. This is Red Rescue from Jaimee Harris here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
There was a darkness in that house, I felt it chill my bones. Saw your mother at the kitchen table, just sitting there, arms crossed. I did a line to make it through the night. I did a line to suppress my appetite. And she offered us what she had to eat. Guess she'd been holding on to all of those holiday meats. I smell the milk a spoiling from the refrigerator. Pull the long black hair off my plate. Said, baby, let's get out of here. I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna save you, Red Rescue, Red Rescue. I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna save you, Red Rescue, Red Rescue. And the walls were colored all like blood. I never looked, but I swear there must have been a dungeon. I saw your brother there, sleeping on the couch. Don't think he's moved since, don't was a darkness in our house. I felt chill my bones the second that I carried you. Wedding dress over the threshold. You told a lie. You told a lie that was easy for me to believe. When all that you said was, it's not as bad as it seems. But it was, baby. How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you? Red rescue, red rescue. How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you when that darkness lives in you too? How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you? Red rescue, red rescue. How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save
All right, Jaimee Harris with Red Rescue, the title track to her 2018 debut album, which we are revisiting today with Jaimee joining us live from Nashville. Folks, loving the music,
Yeah.
and if you have questions for Jaimee, she's here with us for just about 12 more minutes. So make sure to get them in the comments if you have anything you want to know about Red Rescue or anything else. And I love, Jaimee, the cinematic feel to that song, and actually it totally makes sense that you were interested in horror movies or like SVU, because it has that kind of like a visual, like it feels like you're walking into some sort of crime scene or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'm so taken back. I mean, it's like I didn't think about this when I was introing it, but that Jimmy sings on that. My friend Jimmy LaFave, who I mentioned and in the intro, and it didn't occur to me to mention that he sang on. I haven't heard that. Like I said, it's so emotional for me, especially in that last chorus, to hear his voice with that.
Yeah, I know. That haunting
Especially
voice.
at that time, like how am I going to say? I mean, he was singing that. He knew he was dying. It just occurred to me him singing those lyrics. Just it's so intense, and
yeah.
Thank you for doing this, for having me take this emotional trip.
We sure appreciate you being
in the
here.
middle of the afternoon. But
well, thank you so much for sharing these stories and this music, which is so moving to so many folks. This is why folks keep coming back to this record and are here to engage with you and listen to these songs with you. And it's really special for us to get the inside story and to get some of that emotion and that personal perspective, because I think a lot of us, we might love a record, but to hear what really goes into the creation of an album like this and how it continues to move people, I think is really powerful. So we really appreciate you being here. And again, folks loving the music. And again, if you love it as much as we do, then you should get a copy of the album. You can pick up a CD. You can get the high-res digital files. Just make sure you get the real full fidelity, because the magic that was worked on this record is really powerful. JaimeeHarris.com. And when you're at the website, you can check out tour dates. I hear that you're going to be going on tour with Wes Collins coming up.
Yes, one of my ultimate favorite singer-songwriters, Wes Collins. He's got an incredible story. I encourage you to look it up. And we start in Nashville with Grace Pettis and Rachel Levin on the 4th, and that'll be fun. And then we make our way through North Carolina. Essentially, we're doing one cool show in Lynchburg, Virginia, with Grayson Capps and Will Kimbrough and the Honey Dewdrops and some other folks. That'll be fun. And on the 9th in Raleigh, we're doing a benefit for an organization that is near and dear to my heart called the Sims Foundation, that helps musicians, actually not just musicians anymore. They help anyone in the music industry get access to affordable mental health care and substance use recovery services. They started in Austin, and for decades, they were only in Austin, and they've expanded to Nashville, and they're launching in North Carolina, which is why we were doing a benefit for them there. And I'm really passionate about what they're doing.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure to link to that organization as well. If you're just listening or you're in your car and you can't write all this stuff down, all the show notes will be compiled at backcataloglisteningparty.com/212. Man, there's so many things I've been jotting down. There's just so much going on, and there's so much we'd love to chat about. But I do want to say that while you're on Jaimee's website, you might also notice that she has a Patreon, and Patreon and communities like Patreon are just the lifeblood for so many artists. Jaimee, do you want to just talk a little bit about your Patreon and what folks could come to expect?
Yeah, I'm trying to host an exclusive live event, virtual live event every month on Patreon this year. That's a new goal for me. But I'm always sharing music that hasn't been released, or music that you can't get access to anywhere else with on Patreon, full versions of cover songs. And I am not announcing it publicly yet, but last week I just dipped my toes into a new project I'm starting that is a multimedia. It's a documentary. It's also a record. I think it will be a book in partnership with someone I really love and respect. And I'm not announcing it publicly yet because it's personal, but it's also huge. And I'm going through so much imposter syndrome and through the process of that. But I am sharing all of that and revealing all of that on Patreon. So I also, I think there's been so many good things about having a Patreon. One, it does financially sustain me. I couldn't have someone help me the way that I do without Patreon. I couldn't pay some of my bills without Patreon. It is my lifeblood. But it's also been really exciting for me being where I am at in my career. I feel like I'm in this middle zone, right? I'm not at the very beginning, and I'm not at this place where I have all the success, right? And in every music biography, they skip over the middle zone, that gritty stuff, the grassroots, which is what I love and where I live. And so all the stuff that it's not negative, but it's just the truth of what it's like to be a working artist in a time when, like we talked about earlier, maybe we're not prioritizing full concept albums. Maybe it's more singles, or maybe there's this expectation for things to look a certain way on social media. For example, I have an essay about, there's a picture of me standing next to John Prine and singing with John Prine. And on Instagram, that looks really awesome, but there's a very funny story that I have not revealed publicly about why I was absolutely not supposed to be the one singing on the mic with John Prine. Patreon gives me a place to share all those things that I just can't share publicly, but it does. One, it helps me to express it, and share it with other people. So what I love is there are a lot of working artists that are a part of my Patreon that are just typing in the magic words "me too" or "thank you for sharing this because this is so real." And I appreciate that about other artists who share that on Patreon. So it's definitely a true glimpse into my life, not just the rosy stuff I share on social media, exclusive content and live events. And this year I also started doing a drawing. So 3 patrons, I draw a name out of a hat, and they get access to either a handwritten lyric sheet or any merch item they want from the store, or they can request that I answer a question for them, video style, or that I do a cover song for them. So
wow,
cool.
I'm still building it up, and
that's a jam-packed Patreon. So basically, if you want to join the Jaimee Harris Clubhouse, which is kind of what it sounds like, everyone hanging out and giving the little dish of everything going on, you can go to patreon.com/Jaimee Harris and support her there. And speaking of Patreon, we want to thank our Patreon supporters. These are the folks that have kept this show going for 212 episodes. Wow. And patreon.com/back catalog listening party is where you can join these fine folks: Penny, Anna, Linda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Many Tracks, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Wiley, Stephanie, Christy, Diane, Hetty, and maybe you, if you want to join our back catalog listening party after party today. And actually Jaimee Harris's patrons and our patrons will be joining up afterwards for a little Zoom hangout and get a bonus song. So if you join our Patreon or Jaimee's, then you can get an invite to that. But mainly, we're just happy that you all are here today joining us. And what a fun show this has been. And you don't have to have happy songs to have a fun show. And this has been a fun hour.
I know, it's gone so fast, and it's a
fast.
testament to how good the conversation and the music and all the participation out there. So thank you folks so much for being here and joining the conversation, because that's really what it's about. Music is best served together.
Yeah. And also, I want to mention that if you go to jaimeeharris.com to join on the Patreon and get this album we've been revisiting, Red Rescue, she also has a new record. And we're going to get to one last song from Red Rescue. But I do want to give you a chance to mention anything you want about Boomerang Town, which came out last year and made a whole ton of best of lists of the year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, there's so much I could say about the record. I'm really, really proud of that record. The thing that I didn't really get to share, and I mean, enough that I wanted to share, I guess I would say, is that that was kind of a pandemic record, and I loved making. I made it with Mark Hallman, who I just love him so much. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that man. I can't even talk about it without crying. I love him so much. But it was kind of like a little cave. Mostly me and Mark. My friend David Mansfield flew in some stuff. Other people, but it was kind of pandemic-y, and I love to collaborate. So I came up with this insane idea, which I followed through on, which was to have a music video made for every song for the record. And every person that made a music video is also a songwriter. So there's a way to collaborate with other storytellers and get their interpretations of the song. So if you go to my YouTube page, you can choose to watch whichever ones you want, or you can watch the whole album in order.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll make sure to link to that as well in the show notes. There's going to be 20 million links.
I know. This is going to be great.
I love it. Well, we're going to get
the show
to one
notes
more.
Needs its own link tree, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That's very true. Well, right now we're going to get to one more song before we head out and head over to the Zoom for the after party. And this song is called Forever. Is there anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, this was a co-write with Craig Ross, and it was the last song that came together for the record. We had recorded 15 or 16 songs, and near the end of the process, Craig said, you need another one. You needed a song that's a bridge. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, I'm not kidding you. I mean, do you want this record to be great? And he brought the music for this, and which is really special. And it's a co-write with Craig Ross, and it has Mike Hardwick playing pedal steel. A lot of people know Mike Hardwick as a wonderful lap steel player, or I guess slide player, but he's playing pedal steel on this, which he doesn't do often. So
fantastic. Well, a great way to close out our hour. This is Jaimee Harris, Forever, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Like the Oklahoma roses fly
I hate to talk over that fade out. That's amazing. Jaimee Harris channeling some of those Linda Ronstadt vibes on that forever. And so glad we got to that song, showing a totally different side of your music, Jaimee. That's from Jaimee's album Red Rescue. The album we've been revisiting today. It came out in 2018, but it's still available. You can get it in CD format or high-res digital files, but you want to get the full audio experience. We've just gotten like an amuse-bouche of Jaimee Harris's album. Just a taste, a very tasty taste, but you want the full meal.
Yes, you do.
Course.
And you can get that at jaimeharris.com.
And if you liked today's show as much as you all seem to, then like it on YouTube, give it the thumbs up, direct more bots to Jaimee Harris and her fabulous YouTube page. And also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel because we do this every week, not with Jaimee Harris every week, sadly, but with other great artists revisiting old records every Friday at 4 p.m. Central. And thank you so much for joining us, Jaimee. It's been such a treat.
Yeah.
Do you know who your guest is for next week? Do you know?
Who is our guest next week?
It's gonna be it's a local Minneapolis songwriter named Papa Bear Norton.
So awesome! He's so great.
Cool name.
Yeah.
How cool! Wow.
Yeah, he's really
got a chance to
amazing.
play with him for the first time last week at a really cool show, and he's a great songwriter, great performer.
Really good.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to put
really.
you on the spot. It's like when someone's like, "Where are you playing tomorrow?" And I'm like,
I
only know
Yeah,
where
I
I'm at today.
but and this is a good time to mention too that like some of the artists that we've mentioned on today's show have also been guests on the back catalog, and you can check out all our past episodes with the show notes, the photos, the links, all the good stuff at backcataloglisteningparty.com. And we are so excited. Yes, Chris, we'll see you in just a few minutes. So if you're a patron of Jaimee's or of ours, then go to that Zoom link and we'll be hopping on there momentarily to have a little bonus song and some extra chat with Jaimee. But for everyone else, thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful week. And we'll see you back next week for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Cheers. Thanks, Jaimee.